Everyone, we're back again for another week of PGA DFS action. We've got the PGA Championship at Bellerive in St. Louis, Missouri, and it's gonna be an interesting event. Should be a little bit wet. I doubt the course is going to be overly difficult for guys this week. I think. I would say the winning score will be double digits under par, probably like, I want to say like 12, 13 under, I think is where we're going to be, in that range this week, based on what guys are saying. Now, I do think that the practice rounds, it's set up a lot softer than it might for the actual tournament. That's what one of the press releases from Tour was saying. It was saying, hey, these are not championship speeds right now. Don't buy into this exactly as like how the greens are going to play all weekend. So I don't want to get too carried away with that, but I think even if they ratchet it up a little bit, I think 12, 13 under is reasonable. I didn't look at the 2008. There's a tournament here in 2008 that some of these guys, but not too many, played in. I don't have that on the sheet this week. I don't even really have stats because with the way all these events are going, the Open you don't get the stats from, and then a lot of these guys only play Euro, and then some of them, if they play one tournament or two tournaments here and they miss the cut both times, their stats are going to look terrible, even though those tournaments may have come 2 months ago. So, I'm not really buying into the stats too much this week. I mean, I wish I could sort it just strictly by, PGA Tour guys, but the strokes gained stats do matter when it comes to, or it does take into account what another person, what the field is doing in certain situations, kind of comparing you to that. So. Stats are off the sheet this week. That's the long and short of it. We've got recent form, and we're just going to ride the recent form. I'm going to ride, kind of how I feel about a golfer, how he's played overall this year in majors. I think that's a big indicator of how a golfer might do here this week, finishing the year strong, fourth major of the year. So let's hop right into it. At the top, we've got it sorted by DraftKings price at the moment. Yeah, DraftKings price. Okay. These odds are pretty recent as far as I can tell. I put them up, I think, yesterday. So let's get right into it with Dustin Johnson at the top. Dustin Johnson, after his miscut at the Open, when everyone thought he was going to win. Apparently, everyone thinks he's going to win again. So, yeah, I mean, hot takes, thinking the number one golfer in the world is going to win another tournament. I wish people got a little more creative with their picks and went out on a limb with some of these guys. I mean, spoiler alert, DJ only has one major. So, yeah, I mean, that's not great. People forget this. So, he's definitely hungry for a second one, but right now, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not putting all my stock into DJ. I like Rory a lot at this course too. If things are going to be a little wet, I like Rory more than anyone else in this field, I think. So I'm going to be on Rory quite a bit. I think people just like. I'm not sure what the ownership will be like between DJ and Rory, but I'm going to roll with Rory over DJ this week. Spieth is a full fade for me again, most likely. He played pretty terrible at the Bridgestone. The Open Championship, he played well, but I think that event is so suited to him that, yeah, of course he did. And should have been heavier on him there, but here I just don't know what to do with him. I'm just personally not a big believer that he's going to suddenly find something this week, so I'm off Spieth. Ricky is interesting to me, but I don't really see him as a priority in fantasy formats. I just see him getting a top 20 here. I don't really see too much upside. he has shown up in the majors this year pretty well, but I just don't see much upside at this price, especially. I think you've got this murderer's row below him, who we'll get to, and I just don't really see much merit in playing Ricky at these prices this week. So I'm gonna actually colorize the sheet kind of as I go through here. So I'll put DJ in GPP blue. I'll put Rory blue, but bold. I don't really see him as a cash play, so I'll bold him, but I do like him a lot. Tiger. Let me put that away real quick. That way I can get the face and the screen up at the same time. There we go. Yeah, so Tiger for me this week, of course people are going to play him. That's what people do with Tiger. They love Tiger. They're going to play Tiger. But for me, I don't love hit this week. The Bridgestone was not great. He didn't look right at times. He just didn't really think he had like everything together that week. I mean, he started out nice and then just kind of like, bleh. Like he hasn't proven that he can put together 4 total rounds yet. Like I'm just not going to buy into Tiger right now at this price when right below him, I mean, is Justin Thomas. And Justin Thomas is the defending champion here. So, well, not here, but like PGA Championship. And he's coming off of a win where he just pretty much played lights out golf the whole week and just did what he needed to do on Sunday. Like much like Molinari did at the Open, just finished the job. And yeah, it was a really impressive performance after a miscut at the Open. But the Open is, I mean, he's even said it. He's kind of like trying to figure it out still, and I feel like that's a pretty like reasonable thing to expect from a very young, relatively young golfer who has pretty much just played in the USA his whole life. So those kind of conditions I just don't think are ideal for the way JT plays. So I do like him a lot here this week, especially at this price tag. You're getting the 3rd highest odds golfer at the 6th highest DK price, and he's super easy to fit in lineups. I mean, I'm going to be all over it. I think everyone else will too, but I don't really see this going wrong for people. Brooks is another guy I really like. Finished really well last week after a miscut at the Canadian Open. I think he just kind of had some lag from the British Open. I don't really know what it was with Brooks at the Canadian Open. That course should be right up his alley, but I think it was the putting. The putting really sucked, and that really hurt him. But last week the putting wasn't quite there either, but the ball striking was elite again. So I think we can hop back on Brooks here pretty comfortably, but I have him not really as a total cash play. I'd rather play JT in cash, but I do like Brooks a lot in all formats. If you want to pair him with JT, it's viable. I've been building some of those lineups, and you can also play him heavily in GBP, either with JT or as a pivot off of JT. So that's how I'm looking at those two. Justin Rose pulled out injured last week. I'm going to just put him as a withdraw here so you don't get confused. But for me, like, I looked at, or I saw on Twitter, I retweeted it. You can go through my old tweets, you'll find it. Rose, after withdrawing due to an injury the week before, has basically missed the cut or finished outside the top 30, like, the last 13 times he's done this. So for me, Rose is going to be a fade. It's probably one of the hardest calls I've had to make just because he's been playing so well all year. Back spasms is kind of like, who knows what that is, but the worrying thing for me is if that's a real thing, well, it has to be a real thing to me. I don't know why he wouldn't play the Bridgestone. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line at Bridgestone. It's a good warm-up. It's a good warm-up for this course. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't play it if he wasn't actually injured. So for me, or like give it a go, see how it feels, pull out. For me, I think this is like a concern, and I mean, obviously we didn't see him on the coverage, like trying to hit a ball, like, oh, I'll grab my back, I'm out, I'm withdrawing. We didn't see that. So for me, it's going to be a fade because I don't know how bad it is. There's a lot of other great players, great plays, in my opinion, in this range that I can take. Like, I mean, there's guys. Some of these guys are going to be 10% owned. I mean, it's the way it goes. You can't play all these guys. So some of these guys are going to be a little lesser owned than others. Rose is probably going to be really low owned, but I can get a little bit. I think I can get a lot more potential in this range at a little bit more ownership. And then, I'm not going to stress it too much this week. I mean, the last two majors for me, I've played a lot of chalk, and it's just gone hog wild. So I'm going to be off of Rose and hope it does not bite me. The FanDuel price is crazy, but FanDuel, I think you're playing JT for sure at that price. And then I have some JT with Brooks. I have some JT alone. I have some JT with some of these other guys that we'll get to. Down here, a very nice, solid, balanced lineup is probably the way I'm going over there. DraftKings, I think there's a few different ways you can go. You can go balanced. You can go stars and semi-scrubs. I won't call these guys scrubs, but Fleetwood I love this week. Just been playing really, really nice golf. He checks the boxes for pretty much everything you need to do. I think people are putting a lot of money on Fleetwood. They know that, or they think at least, that he's quote unquote due for a major one of these times soon. I could see it happening, but I don't think the PGA is the major for him. I just don't see it. I think Fleetwood is either going to come through at an Open or the Masters. I don't necessarily see him as a PGA Championship guy, but you never know. Just really solid. The price tag is nice. I don't think he'll be overly chalky given that JT and Brooks are here. Day and Rahm are below him. I think he's just a good play. I wouldn't overthink it too much. I don't think you need to either fade or be way overweight. I think you can match the field pretty comfortably at like 10 to 15%, and you'll be good. Molinari, I don't love Molinari in this spot because I think he's just kind of hit the wall. And I don't mean that as like he's going to be going back to like mediocrity or above average as he was before. He wasn't mediocre, I should say that. But I don't think he's going back to winning or top, runner-up every week. I think, he made some improvements. They lasted for the time that they did, and now he's going to, he's going to be an improved version of what he was in the past, but I think it's too much to ask to think that he's going to be competing to win every week. So I'm going to take a cautious approach. I probably won't have very much, but I can see the merit in hoping the form returns. John Rahm for me is interesting because we know he has so much talent, but can he put it together at a major? He got fourth at the Masters, but he wasn't really like in it. He wasn't winning it. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open is number 8 on here. I should put that there. USO. 3 weeks ago was the British Open, so we'll go there too. But yeah, so where were we? Rahm's missed the cut at the last 2 majors, but besides that, he's been great. I like Rahm, but I think it's a GPP play for me. I'm not going to go Rahm in cash. I will be playing Jason Day a lot. I like Jason Day a lot. He just dominates the PGA Championship. Besides a poor U.S. Open, which was out of the norm for him, he's basically been inside the top 20 every tournament he's played this year, which is insane. I think he may have missed one other cut, but Like Jason Day a lot here this week. He will be in a lot of my lineups. Patrick Reed, the same. I like Patrick Reed a lot this week. This is the kind of course that should fit him very well. A lot of you can shape a lot of shots here. You can kind of do what you want. So I do like Reed a lot. In the majors this year too, he's just been unreal. So I like Patrick Reed a lot to show up here in another big spot. Hideki is very interesting to me. He's going to go super low owned, which I think puts him in play strictly because he's too good. He has too much talent, but for me, I think I'm going to fade it now that I think more about it. I just Reed is right there, and I like Reed so much more. I don't think you need to take that ownership play on Hideki. I think it's more of a trap than anything else. Stenson I like here this week, but coming off of a little injury thing, I mean, he normally plays very, very well at Bridgestone and didn't really do that this time around. He usually plays very, very well at the Open. Didn't quite live up to what I was expecting coming into the week. Didn't burn me, but I was expecting more. That whole injury thing really worried me going into it. I stayed on him some, got off of him some, and, it worked out, but it wasn't great. So for me, I think Stenson's going to be a fade for me. I think Noren's going to be a fade for me. I think Sergio's a huge fade at this price. Cantlay I really like. Cantlay is just a great ball striker. I think he's got a major in him, and I think he might be able to pull one out here. This seems like a place that should fit him. He's been playing really good golf. Really came through at the Open when I wasn't on him. So I like Cantlay to come through here again too. I think if you're building a balanced lineup, I think Cantlay is a solid second choice behind a JT, a Brooks, a Tommy. And I think he's also a great second choice behind a DJ or a Rory. Phil for me, GPP play, but a fade for my personal lineups. You can play him if you want. I think I just don't know how much he is driven right now. So I'm gonna be off Phil. The form isn't really there. Xander is always a GPP play because Xander just shows up sometimes, especially at majors, and this is a major. Did play like total shit last week when everybody was on him at a big WGC big money event, but you can go back to Xander this week in GPPs. Great pivot if you want that risk off of Finau, who I love, and Casey, who I love, because they are very solid golfers. I don't see either of them blowing up. I see both of them. Paul Casey, you might say, oh, he's British and he didn't play well at the British Open. Well, he doesn't tend to play well at the British Open. Both of these guys came through really nicely at the U.S. Open. Both played well at the Masters. Both have been playing solid golf of late. Both great ball strikers. Leave a little bit to be desired on the greens, but I don't think that's a huge problem. I really like both of them this week. They'll both be in a lot of my lineups, especially on DraftKings. FanDuel, not so much, especially Casey. Price is crazy. Cantlay on FanDuel is a lock at that price. Noren and Sergio have much more reasonable prices on FanDuel, but if I was going to pull the trigger on either, it would be Noren. I do want to go look and see what Noren's Pga Championship history has been. I know his major U.S. history has not been great, so I'll go look into that, and maybe he gets into play for me on FanDuel. But Sergio is definitely a full fade everywhere. Cantlay I really like. Phil, that FanDuel price, no. Xander, same deal. Finau, that FanDuel price I think is honestly reasonable, but I still struggle to pay that when I see a lot of these guys in the 9K range that I like as well. So Bubba, I think Bubba has more win potential than he does than these odds and this price indicates, but at the same time I think there's a little bit of risk. So for me, Bubba's just a straight GPP play. Bryson is in the same boat. Bryson started out terribly last week, kind of grinded one out to a 30th, which Doesn't really look great on paper, but it was more of the way he did it coming from a terrible Thursday. These no-cut events, you really have to put together 4 strong rounds to really finish in the top, in the top tier of players, like top 15, top 10. Bryson didn't do that. Still finished top 30. Was gaining strokes all over the place on the weekend. So I do like Bryson here, but I'm not all in. I think he's a strong GPP play, but I have trouble really trusting him in a cash game this week. So risky, but I'm in. Kuchar, I like a lot here. I think Kuchar, he's been weird this year. He's been missing cuts, and that's not very Kuchar-like, but I do like him at this major. I think he fits this course very well. Even Shinnecock, U.S. Open, he wasn't really playing terribly. He played well on Thursday and then just like imploded on Friday, which wasn't great. But, missed the cut at the Canadian, which is concerning. Missed the cut at the, what was the event before the Scottish Open? Missed the cut there. So it's tough for me to want to really trust Kuchar this week, but he's just got such a allure about him, especially in an event like this where I think he is back in play. It's hard for me to trust him in cash though, to be honest. Leishman I like a lot. I like Leishman quite a bit. He checks a lot of the boxes, much like Kuchar, not overly great at one particular area, but can get the job done in a lot of areas where other guys tend to struggle, like putting and short game. So I like both of those guys, Kuchar, Leishman, in this price range quite a bit. Brandon Grace has been pretty god-awful late, so I'm going to get off of him. I like Webb. I like Louis a lot. I like Louis a lot. Louis tends to show up at majors, and he has been this year, so I definitely like that call. Neiman, I think, is a GPP play. People probably won't play him here at a major, but I think he's just so good that it's worth a shot. Much like Rahm his rookie year, just kind of play the guy at certain spots where you play the talent and you hope it wins out. So I like that play. Peters is another GPP play for me. You never know what you're going to get with him, but he has been pretty solid recently. Adam Scott is a fade for me because I don't play Adam Scott. Daniel Berger is a fade for me. ZJ, I like ZJ a lot. Super solid. Top 20s in his last 5 tournaments, and I think even beyond that. So big on ZJ. Snedge is a fade for me. Keegan is a fade for me. Benny On is a fade for me. Ian Poulter I like a lot. Just very, very strong form. Ryan Moore, fade for me. RCB, fade for me. Hatton, I just don't like him here at this event. I'm going to fade him. Chappell, I think, is in play for GPPs. Hoffman, I like a lot as a strong save play. He's just been very solid recently. Bridgestone, a little worrisome, but I'm not too torn up about that. I think I'd play Poulter over both of those guys, Chappell and Hoffman, but I do like all of them. I will have some of them in my lineups. Charles is a fade for me. Shane Lowry, I think, is actually in play in GPPs. He's been playing pretty good golf, granted in a lot of weaker field events, but I see some merit in playing some Shane Lowry this week. CH3 is going to be a fade for me. I just don't see any upside for him at this point. Grillo is a fade for me as well. I think people may have finally learned their lesson with Grillo, that he's in fact not elite and shouldn't play him at majors when he's going to be low-price chalk. So I've been telling you that for 2 majors now. Don't do it. Don't play Grillo again. Watch, Grillo's going to pop this week, but that's the way it goes. Kyle Stanley, I do like in GPPs. I'm not convinced he has a lot of upside here, but I think he makes the cut. Luke List, kind of the same boat. I think Stanley and List, I don't know which one of these two will probably be more popular. I think List will, just because the Pat Mayo bump, just So more top tens this year for List. So I think while List, I do like him more than Stanley. I think the GPP play here is probably Stanley. Knox, I don't really like this week. Fox, Knox, and Woodland. Fox and the Woodland. Interesting order of things here. Fox, I'm off. I think his Euro run is strictly a Euro run. Woodland, I really like as a lower price play. He's been driving the ball well. He does a lot of good stuff off the tee and on approach. I don't see him really burning people this week. Danny Willett, I think another Euro run. I don't like him here. Fitzy, same deal. Pepperell, same deal. Ollie, why is Ollie even on the sheet? Hostler, I'm off Hostler. Putnam, I would be on, but I think he just won, so I don't really see him coming in here and like continuing that. I like guys that are still hungry for that win. I think he may have busted it last week. So I'm off Putnam. Wise, I really can see playing well at this FanDuel price. DraftKings, I think there's better options. Kevin Na, I really like. Nick Watney, I've heard some talk on. I don't know why. I'm going to be off of him. Bjork, I'm going to be off of. Here we come. What am I going to do with Thorbjorn Olesen? I've been saying on Twitter all week, I like Haotong Lee more. But God, the form, man. I'm going to go with it. I'm gonna ride Thorbjorn. I'm still going to play a lot of Haotong and GPPs. I think Thorbjorn and Cash is an easy play. Whether or not it goes right, I'm not so sure that it matters. I think if you get the rest of your lineup right with a 5 of 6, you're going to be fine. And I think Thorbjorn has so much upside, as he's shown recently, that it is worth it for me to take that shot. He was not playing, he wasn't on this super hot streak coming into the U.S. Open, so I'm not worried that he's like a miscut threat in the majors so much just because, he missed the cut at the U.S. Open. He started playing really well after the U.S. Open, and then continued it through the British Open. So I really like Thorbjorn. Improved every round at the Bridgestone. I really like him this week. Gonna be chalky, but I'm gonna eat it. Fuck it, let's ride. Russell Henley, I'm off. Although I do want to see. I'm gonna put him in GPP because I could end up playing him depending on what I've seen from him in majors so far this year. Siwoo, I'm off. This dude sucks. Stop looking. Haotong Lee, not a sexy play for me, but I do like him in GPPs. I think he's come through in the majors this year, and if Thorbjorn misses and you still want a lineup with the guy at this price, I think Haotong is perfect. Kevin Na, the same. Stuart Sink, I like as a safer maybe play, but I'm not like totally certain that he gets any sort of upside this week. Fratelli, I see a lot of talent in him. I just don't think he's ready. Kokrak, I never play this guy. Levy, I'm not playing. Sungjae Im has a lot of talent, but I would reserve him strictly for large field tournaments. Spawn, same deal, except I'm not playing him. Stroud has actually been in really good form recently, so I like Stroud as a sneaky, potentially low, super low owned, super low price GPP play, dart throw, what have you. Justin Harding, no idea who this guy is, but he's been pretty good on what I believe is the Sunshine Tour. So South Africa and Zimbabwe, the African Challenge Tour, basically. AfricanWeb.com is a good way to refer to it. But yeah, I mean, Harding, I think, is just one of these guys that you never know what you're going to get from because nobody knows this guy. So play him at your own risk, but that is all I've got for you this week. Try to keep it short and simple. Give you the plays that I'm on. Tell you who I'm not. Narrow you down to I've got a player pool of, a core / I'll probably have in most of my lineups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, I mean, I've probably got about 30 golfers that I'm going to be playing this week. 30, 35, somewhere in that range, spread across a bunch of different lineups. More mass multi on DraftKings for me than on FanDuel, but that's the way it breaks down this week. Any questions, hit me up in the Fan Cave chat. I'm there. Just, shoot me a message. You can DM me on Twitter at mandrews93dfs. I'm always on the Twitter machine answering the questions, letting you know what I think of lineups, 1v1s, head-to-head bets, top 20 bets, anything that you want to talk about like that. But that's all I've got for you this week. Best of luck, and let's get this money.